Yo, what's up, everyone? This is your host, Ricky. Welcome to the latest Tales of Web3 episode. Today, we are recording season 3, episode 13, with the legend, Zeneca. How's it going, brother?
Going well. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Let's go. So, for our audience who don't know much about you, can you please start this episode by sharing a little bit more about yourself and obviously the origin story of ZenAcademy, right? The project that you're famous for.
I'll give the super quick version. So I was a professional poker player for 15 years. Did that from 2005 to 2021. I got into crypto in 2017, but it was only 21 when I came in full time. Did a bunch of trading. NFTs was all the craze back then, so I did a lot of NFT trading, but a bunch of other things as well. Started creating content, so tweeting, and then I started a newsletter in June. And then that led to me launching ZenAcademy in November 2021, which is sort of my education-based community. It really just started as an experiment. Didn't know what we would do or where we would go. And yeah, it was been a wonderful few years. We created a whole bunch of courses, onboarded many people to crypto, email courses, video courses, done a lot of cool things. And these days we're still around. Mostly now we're just hanging out in the Discord server together, learning about whatever new things pop up in the space.
That's awesome. Yeah, your newsletter, I think, is the way that a lot of people get to know you. And in your recent writings, there's a thesis that you shared, right? There's so many things going on in crypto where you can make a quick buck. There's so many things. You can do yield farming, you can do short-term trading, meme coins, altcoins. You can also build some cool shit, right? Be the long-term builder. The question for you is, how did you find those one or two things that you are really good at? Because I think a lot of people are struggling, right? Even like myself, I tried all these bunch of shit, like pumping up every single day. And gradually, I think it really takes time, right? Until you realize, okay, I'm probably not good at this, right? That's the easier side, right? You realize first you're not good at this, then you can start realize maybe I'm good at that. So for you, can you share a little bit more about, I guess for you is really the NFT side of things, right? And also like writing in general. But please share a little bit more.
Yeah, honestly, it was just trying a bazillion things. And again, finding out what I wasn't good at, what didn't work. I don't really feel like I truly got it until a month ago.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, like I've done so many different things.
No way.
And I've liked things. But the thing I think I am best at, or that I'm just probably am best at, and should be focusing on, is writing. I think that I have always I've enjoyed writing. I've done well with writing. People seem to like my writing, but then I would get distracted with trading, investing, which I've had success with, and then running ZenAcademy, trying to run a company, and then I tried doing YouTube videos, and I tried podcasts, and I tried speaking at IRL events, and I can do all these things, and some of them are more successful than others, and I still do some. I still trade and invest a bit, but it always comes back to writing, and I think now I've decided that's what I should be focusing on as my main thing, and certainly running ZenAcademy, and then being a business, being a CEO and founder. We had up to 15 people working for us at one point. It was
nice.
A first-time founder, so it was my first time doing it all, and I made so many mistakes. And I learned a lot, but I also realized it's not for me. That's not something I'm good at or particularly enjoy. If I do run another company again, I would want there to be co-founders so that they can handle a lot of the actual running of the business part, and I can maybe do some other elements of it.
Got it. Yeah, I think you're actually pretty smart, because I'm one of the subscribers, the paid subscribers. And I think that's a pretty smart way, right? Like you force yourself to get out these high quality content for your readers. Because before it's like completely free, right? Where there's no driver, there's no push and force and stuff like that.
I only released 3 issues in 2024, which was
I saw that.
And I just struggle with motivation in general. ADHD brain. I can't stick on one thing unless there's external sort of accountability factors. And so that's where having this premium newsletter helps, because it's all right, now people have paid, so I really need to deliver value. I want it to make worth their while. I want to spend time researching every week, thinking about what I'm going to write, editing my thoughts. And so that's definitely helped a lot.
100%. But even before the subscription model, right? There's still, I think, more than 30K people tuned in, subscribed to your newsletter. which is
Yeah.
extremely well. Can you share a little bit more about like what is the key or a few keys, right, to run a successful newsletter? Because like a lot of people, I think, have the consensus, right? They know writing is good. Writing is the most effective way to share your thoughts to build a following. But like how did you actually start, and what are some keys or ways that you accumulated in all these years writing that you find really helpful?
Yeah. So I was fortunate that I was writing even before crypto. I used to have a poker blog when I was a poker player. In high
That's
school,
cool.
writing was my
That's
favorite
cool.
subject. I've just always liked writing and reading. And so it definitely came a bit more naturally to me. And getting into creating my newsletter, I had experience and skills and ability to write. Because I think that writing well is a huge part of it. Fortunately, it's a skill. Anyone can learn to write better. But you have to actually practice and then take some effort to improve and work on it. And like, even if I go back and look at my first newsletters, like compared to now, like I cringe at some of the writing I did and the way that I did it. It wasn't great, but it was a start and it was good enough. So like being able to write well is obviously an important part. And then the other thing is writing about things that people actually want to read about. And that generally means delivering some sort of value. It can be in terms of like just information and news. So my early things were just reporting on the NFT space. It was Bored Ape Yacht Club. It was Cool Cats. It was, hey, these projects just launched this week. This just happened, etc. And then that evolved into, because after a while, there are 50 million people doing the exact same thing. Then I decided, let's do some bigger picture stuff. And then so they ended up being more deep dives, like multi-thousand word pieces into, whether friend tech or fantasy top or based the layer 2 blockchain or Bitcoin ordinals. And so like that was also something of value. People that wanted to learn about these things could come and read that. They could share it with their friends that wanted to learn about it. And I think that's the most important part, is like writing something that delivers value. Often that being topical is enough. Like you can just talk about whatever the hottest thing is right now. But always thinking about how you add value to your readers. So that's
Yes.
time is so
Like
important.
that actually lead to my next question. I feel like a lot of people just write whatever going on market without adding to their own thoughts, right? I think independent thinking, right? The question that I really wanted to ask, like how a normal person, right? Like if they're young, they're still learn more about the world, they're exploring different like boundaries. How did they, or how do you, right, in the past, how did you cultivate yourself to gain the skill of thinking independently, right? To analyze stuff and to what I wanted to ask, right?
Definitely. The simple answer is just read more. Like
Read more.
especially when you're young. When you're older, you have life experiences and there's more to draw on. But still now, like I read a lot, and I think that the best way to improve your writing is to read. Just read lots. Like, and everyone has time to read. Like people will say they don't have time. If you're 19,
Excuses.
almost certainly you have hours a day to read. I know parents who have multiple kids and full-time jobs, and they'll still find 20 minutes a day to read. So you really have no excuse to not be reading for an hour plus a day, especially if you want to improve your writing. Just spend a lot of time reading. There's so many good books out there. It doesn't have to be about writing or anything. Just like read fiction, read self-help books, read business books, read biographies, and then yes, occasionally read a book specifically about writing if you want to improve it. But that's the number one way. It'll help you form your own thoughts. You just think about how to write, how to phrase arguments, and just perception of everything. And that way, when you go to write, you're not just reporting on the news and not adding your own thoughts. You're saying, this is what I think about that. And drawing on the experience of all the books you've read. Because when you read, you learn lessons, you shape your worldview, you learn little pieces of advice and wisdom, and that all gets jumbled up in your head, and then you'll come up with new ideas. That's how this all works.
Got it. So most important thing is reading. And I guess like for reading, I think the hard thing for a lot of people is, these kind of stuff like accumulate over time. And then it doesn't give you like a direct reflection on, like, for example, if you read an hour a day, you're not going to improve, automatically start to write out all these cool shit. It probably like until like a year or so, right? Until all these things start to appear, you get the reward. So I think for people out there, they just have to like tell them more patience, right? Just to accumulate more until the reflection point.
Anything great in life generally takes time. Like people want to get rich quick in cryptos. They want to find the 100x, and then it's almost always leads to ruin. If you want to build a successful newsletter, you're almost certainly not going to do it in a day, a week, a month. it will probably take a year or years. I got lucky because I started mine in the heat of the NFT market. So lots of people were looking for NFT content, and there wasn't much NFT content. And I already had years of experience writing. So like that was all already big benefits to me. If you don't have any experience writing, but you want to, then absolutely you can be a very good, successful writer. But it just takes time and practice. And so you read lots, write lots, review your work. With AI now, it's fantastic. You can just ask AI, hey, how would you make this writing better? And are there any grammatical errors? You can just upload it into this app called Hemingway.app, and it'll just like
Oh,
highlight,
nice.
if it's easy to read or not. And you shouldn't just, agree with whatever the AI says, because it can be wrong and it's not always the best, but it gives you some food for thought, and it's just a really good tutor and teacher.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I also wanted to like ask a little bit more about like your poker background, because I know you're a professional poker player for more than 10 years, right? And I think for me personally, like if I just think about it, it definitely gives you some edge, right? The first thing is definitely you're pretty probably like number sensitive, right? You probably see things in terms of like a rate, right? If I do this, if what is the win rate looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, like if you're playing poker, most of the times you're just yourself out there competing for all these other folks who want to take your money,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which means it probably naturally give you a sense of like how to play. If I call it a zero sum game, will it be correct?
Yes, in order for you to win, someone else has to
Somewhat,
lose.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So can you share a little bit more about that? Like, are the two characteristics that I just described are really your edge right now? Because crypto nowadays, most of it are casinos. Obviously, are
Yeah.
innovations, but still, it's mostly a casino. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely. The edge is, I think, enormous that I got from poker coming into crypto. Being able to think in terms of odds and probabilities, and also, like you say, not think of all the money as money all the time. Like as a poker player, you think to learn of you learn to think as your chips as chips. So you're not sitting at a table with $5,000, which is rent money or a holiday or whatever. It's just 5,000 in chips, and you're betting in chips, and you're thinking about odds and probabilities of like making chips, and not thinking about what the chips equate to, which is money, and then what the money means. Because if you thought about that all the time,
oh,
you
that's
you know
interesting.
you'd just go crazy, because you'd be like, especially as you go higher up in stakes, it'd be like, you're winning and losing a car, and it's just like it would drive you crazy. You have to like put that emotion aside and just try and make the best decision to win as many chips as you can, or lose as few chips as you can. Which again comes into crypto very, very helpfully as well, because a lot of the time you're definitely making and losing large sums of money, but you have to sort of set the emotion aside from that, and not let the swings drive you crazy, and just try and make better decisions, because that's ultimately what matters, even if your short to medium term results don't reflect that.
Got it.
And yeah, it is. I think crypto is not strictly zero sum, because, as you said, there are innovations, there's adoption, there's value added into the world by it. But a lot of it, especially like the meme coin side and the degen stuff, is basically zero sum, and it's just like PvP. And again, like that poker background helps there.
That's awesome. Like, yeah, speaking of innovations, in which aspect in the entire crypto space that you are really excited for, like the real innovations happening? Obviously,
Yeah.
excluding all the casino stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think AI agents, or just AI in general, there's obviously a lot of like non-valuable stuff in that space as well, like with all the crypto. But I think that the intersection of crypto and AI is going to be really big and really interesting and really innovative. And then the other is stablecoins. I think we're seeing a massive adoption of stablecoins right now
Agreed.
within crypto
Agreed.
and outside of crypto, and I think that's going to be a big, big, big deal. I think I might even write about that next week in my newsletter. That's probably the topic.
Nice. I think you should do stablecoins. People are
Yeah.
super excited because I
Yeah.
think stablecoins are probably the only real like DeFi that we're getting adoption from real world. Right? You
Yeah.
can see the TVLs are getting like a
Yeah,
world
It
record,
just keeps
a
going
new
up.
record, everything.
Yeah. Even though the
100%.
market's been choppy, TVL just keeps going up.
Yes, yes. Like when you talk about like AI and crypto, right? What do you think are the real problems in AI that crypto can really solve? And what are some problems that in crypto that AI could really solve? And to sum up, right? Basically, what are the most beautiful things that you can see from intersections of the two most advanced technologies?
So I think one of the things in crypto that AI can solve that we've been seeing a bunch lately is this concept of like AI DeFi, where instead of interacting with a wallet and bridges and exchanges, you just have like a Chat GPT style conversation, and you're like, hey, I want to buy this token. Can you do it for me? And it bridges behind the scene. It transfers your money. Doesn't matter what blockchain it's on. Doesn't matter. It just does it for you. So I think that improvement of the user experience is a big way AI can help. And I think how crypto can help AI is two main things. One is like proof of humanity. Like it's a big deal in a world where
that's a great part. Yes,
when the internet is going to be flooded with bots and like the content is largely going to be AI generated content. It'll be even more important to be able to tell what's authentic, who is a real human, what content was created by a human. And I think blockchain is a really great solution to that. And then the other element is just an ability for AI agents to have like digital bank accounts. If they want to go off and transact on their own, if you want to have an agent that runs its own business or does some e-commerce, then crypto is just the natural version of that.
Yes, because they probably don't want to use fiat, right? If you're an AI agent trying to make transactions and stuff like that.
Especially because it's all global, right? So
yes,
makes more sense. Yeah.
All right, this is really cool. So in your recent newsletter, there's one thing that you shared for people like when they choose who to follow on Twitter, right? Like basically you said there's 5 different type of people, right, on Twitter. They are the ones who knows nothing and they share nothing, right? They're the ones who knows a little bit, but they think they knows everything. They try to predict the future. And the most importantly, basically the people who, we should follow, right, are the ones who know something and they are willing to show in their own area of expertise, right? Yes. Modest knowledge. And that is probably you. But like besides you, can you name other few people, like probably like their Twitter name or basically their names, right? On why we should follow them and why they are doing a great job in the space.
I think Sammy is a great follow, S4MMY. He does a lot of daily report on AI agents and is just really good about that. Legendary is another one. Legendary Gains, GAINZ _. Also knows a lot, but doesn't pretend to know everything all the time. I like Crypto Cred and Crypto Don Alt. They're both traders. They're much bigger size, more traditional trading of like the bigger tokens rather than meme coins or NFTs. But they're both very humble. They both share a lot of thoughts and education without, again, pretending to know everything. So yeah, those. It's
such an important thing, right? Like when you're modest. Because nobody can really predict the future. But like I don't know why there are a lot of folks out there, they're just trying to. Because like I think the thing that is happening right now is like if you think like the entire population, right? There's always someone who can make the right bet, right? They just think, okay, market is gonna crash tomorrow, and it did crash. But he's just one of the 1,000 people who did the guess, and he think he's God. You know what? Yes, he think he's God. So I think that's not a good way for
even worse than that though is that there will be people that get it right like 6 times in a row, just because
which is still possible, right? Because
there's a million people guessing. Eventually there'll be someone who gets it right a few times in a row and they think they're a god and people following them think they're a god, and then they eventually will get it wrong because they actually have no idea what they're talking about. They just so very dangerous to follow anyone who says with any sort of certainty about what's going to happen.
Awesome. But like thanks for the names. I will tag them when I launch this podcast. Awesome. I think it will be really helpful. Like diving deep on this question, right? I think on crypto, right, especially crypto Twitter, curating the right information is such an important thing because there's a million different noise going on, right? Like there's so many people tell you to buy this coin, trade that shit, or like blah blah, farm this pole or blah blah blah. And for you, like the question is, over the years, right? How did you curate your information on crypto Twitter? But it can also be beyond, right? And also, second question is, what are the information that you are primarily getting on a day-to-day basis? For example, which platform you're checking for DeFi news, for NFT news, and etc.
Yeah. I get most of my information from Twitter still. Like
I think so too, but there gotta be like a way where you curate these stupid things out of your feed, right? Like how? Because for me, it's really hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I use Twitter lists, so like I'll break people down into like instead of the whole infinite timeline of suggestions, it's just like, all right, here's 50 people who I follow, and so it's like really in this category or just overall, and it's like, all right, these people are sensible, they're not posting 100 times a day, so it's not too spammy. And it just helps curate the information that way. And then like occasionally if I find something really good, I'll bookmark it and put it into a folder, or I'll save it off Twitter and put it in like I use Evernote, and so just put it in a notes software. But yeah, and occasionally I'll read things from Discord or Telegram or other newsletters. But the top of the funnel for me is always Twitter. I spend a lot of time on Twitter, probably too much, but I think it's
Same.
yeah, it's still to me the best way to stay on top of everything happening in crypto. You can find out a lot. It just takes time you have to like curate your own feed and find out what works for you and who you like to follow and who you don't, and just like mute people and follow people and put people on lists, and eventually over time you'll have a pretty good experience.
Yes, I think the list is a really good tip, and also like whenever you saw something that you really dislike, I think the key is just always put a like you can also mark them, right? I'm not interested in this, or you can do mute, because like I actually got like hurt a lot last month because I accidentally clicked on like the stupid tweets, right? It just started to recommend more and more and more. It took me like a lot of time to just mute, dislike until the feed goes back. So it's really just be careful on what you click. That's one. Yes. So the next question for you just pop up on my head is, so you get into crypto, I'd say in like a really golden age, right? You start trading 2017, 2018. You also caught the entire NFT bull run, right? Which is a wild era to be living in. Like for young generations, right? Probably for fresh college grads right now, what would you say to them? Do you think crypto is still the best industry where there's still like huge opportunities? Or do you think, there's probably other good industries? Because I'd say like if you turn the clock back to like 5 years ago, right? Even 3 years ago, I'd say no doubt crypto are the best industry, right? Yeah. Because there's so many, but right now we got the Bitcoin ETF, you got a Solana ETF, Ethereum ETF, Solana are coming. And I think mainstream adoption is getting there, right? So do you think still like our industry still have like the highest leverage or potential for younger generations?
I think so. It's either crypto or AI, and I recommend if you're young, you get into both because again, they go hand in hand. But yeah, I think that it definitely was quote unquote easier in the past, or the sort of the golden era was in the past. But it wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. Like I didn't make much money in 2017, 2018 because first I called round trip a lot,
yes,
and taking up profits. I don't know a lot of people who didn't make money in NFTs, even though they were here the whole time. And so it's not always, it's definitely not easy. I would say it's a bit harder now because there's a lot more fragmentation, way more stuff happening, and the opportunities are more split. But there's still insane opportunities everywhere. There's airdrop farming. If you want to be a content creator, there's fantastic opportunities. If you want to be a trader, there's a lot of opportunities. There's still incredible opportunities, and I think it will stay this way for several more years at least. Nice. But also AI is also the space that is, incredible opportunities there. If you just, the leverage, like you said, is insane with AI. You can create content, you can code, create apps and websites and build businesses literally just as one person who has no technical knowledge, just by working hard and using these tools.
I agree. I guess like a lot of people used to say, right, like you shouldn't be getting into AI if you don't have like a 10-year expertise in that specific field. But I think we actually are way beyond that era, because back in the days, people are still building inference. And obviously, if you wanted to build a GPT or if you want to build a DeepSeek, you do need 10 or 20 years of experience. But since those models are already there, I do think young generations, even if you don't know how to code, right, on the extreme cases, there are still like AI tools that you can leverage, or consumer facing AI product that you can launch, right? You don't need like that the knowledge of how to build like a big language model and stuff like that.
Pretty much. It's like the internet. Like, in the 80s or 90s, if you were to try and work on the internet or anything computer related. It was like, you need technical knowledge, 5-10 years of this, a computer, a university degree. And then in like the 2000s, it basically opened up to just about anyone. And in the early
Yes.
2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, it was relatively, it wasn't easy, but it was relatively easy with people who like put in some work, did some research. You could create your own website. You could do this, that, and the other. And then like 2005 onwards with like iPhones and WordPress and everything, then anyone could just do anything on the internet very easily. And so like, yeah, AI has well gone past the 90s era of the internet now, I think, or maybe it's late 90s. But it's possible for anyone to do just about anything now. It's really exciting. It just takes, like everything, it just takes some hard work.
100%. With AI, I think that the real innovation is already small, like app side or tool side, right? As long as you can find something in your workflow, right, in your day-to-day basis, and you use AI to optimize even a single tiny bit of process in your own workflow and embedded that into it for a million people, right? You're gonna be you're gonna be successful. So that's what really amazed me a lot.
Yeah, it's insane the leverage with. I mean, you can combine AI, the internet, and crypto, and like you can just, it's very exciting, and especially if, like, again, for young, if you're a high school grad, if you're 17, 18, 19, 15, you have no responsibilities, you have no obligations. I'll just spend 16 hours a day on this stuff. Work really hard, learn it all.
That's the way.
Forget work-life balance. Forget, like, you're young, just grind, and within like a few years, you're probably set for life. You have a very high percentage chance of setting yourself up for life versus doing it like, just don't go, just whatever else you're doing is probably not as important.
Love that. Love that. What is work-life balance for you? Do you have work-life balance? My guess is you do. Because but like
I do and I don't. So like certainly now I do. Like 2021, 2022, even 2023, I had very little work-life balance. First, it was trading nonstop. Then it was running ZenAcademy, and I was all the ways I was like working 12 plus hours a day, 7 days a week. Since 2024, I kind of went full circle, and I basically wasn't doing nearly as much stuff online, which has kind of got me to like where I've always been historically, which is I will go through periods of insane work. So like, wake up, go to my computer, work all day, or wake up, do whatever. 80-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks. And then I'll go for several months in a row where I'm just doing nothing at all. And like just, playing video games,
cool.
Reading. Yeah. So it's like, I basically work myself till I get burned out, and then I'll go do other things. And I sense myself perhaps getting back to that point right now. Like right now I do have, I would say, balance. I put a few hours a day into work, and then a few hours a day into games and doing hobbies and spending time with friends and family. But I suspect in the not too distant future, in a couple months, I'll probably be working lots, and then I'll get burned out and then take holidays again.
Let's go. All right, let's dive deep into that. You're saying like in the next couple months, you're probably going like all fired up, right, into work again.
Well, that's so just for me personally. So like next month, we're going away for 3 weeks for my honeymoon. So I'm like, I'm before that, I'm not
okay. Going to be congrats.
Thank you. So like that's like after that, I'm thinking, I'll have all the wedding and honeymoon stuff behind me. Then I can really just focus on doing some deep work for a while. But even the next couple of weeks before we head away, I'm kind of leaning in that direction as well. Like I'm working on this book right now, and so like I'm trying to spend a lot of time just getting at least the first draft done before we leave.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what is the book about, and what is the experience like? Is this your first book in your life?
First book, yeah.
Nice.
It is. I mean, it's obviously not an easy thing to do. It's a lot of work, a lot of words, and requires motivation. But it's really fun and rewarding at the same time. So the topic is basically like how to be a better trader, or crypto survival guide, like tips and strategies and tactics that I've learned in the last 7-8 years in crypto, as well as like previous 15 years in poker, in terms of like finding an edge, managing risk, managing your bankroll, emotional, mental game side of everything. The soft skills like trading and like journaling and keeping a trading log, all that kind of stuff. Where to find alpha, how to find alpha, what even is alpha, etc. So all these kind of lessons that things that I've learned, and I'm just putting them in a book.
This is really awesome. I've heard like from other professional traders, they used to say like when you're trading, right, 20% is rational decisions, and 80% is actually emotional side of things. And like he said, like a lot of people, they're good at the rational side, but they cannot control their mind, and that's how people ended up losing money. So for me, I'm not like a professional trader, right? But like I'm really curious, like, and would love for you to dive deep more into that, right? What is the 80% emotional side of things like, and how do you deal with that kind of stuff and train yourself?
It's tough. It does require training. It does require patience and discipline and all these kind of things. I completely agree with that. One of my favorite quotes is by this old chess player, and he says, "It is not enough to be good at chess. You must also play well." And I think it's just so accurate, because it doesn't matter how good you are. You could be the best poker player in the world. You could be the best trader in the world. But if you don't play well, if you're making poor decisions, it doesn't matter how good you are technically or how knowledgeable you are. And so that comes down to it not going on tilt, not FOMOing, not trading based out of emotion, not just all these things. And so like the way you get better at that is, to me, journaling is probably the best way. Journaling and keeping a trading log, keeping systems help take the emotion out of it. So whenever you buy something, write down what's your target price, at what point are you going to take profit, and then also write down your invalidation.
And you just follow that, very strictly.
That's the goal, is to follow it strictly. It doesn't always happen in reality,
because the hard thing is always,
if you've written it down, it's so much easier to follow than just thinking, I'll take profits when it gets to this point. If you just think that way and you get there, you'll be like, actually, I'm so bullish, but if you've got it every single day, you check your trading log or your thing, and you're like, hey, it's hit my profit target. It does make it much easier not easy, but much easier to take profit. So yeah, that kind of stuff.
That's cool. And I guess really the hard thing is sometimes, even if, for me personally, right, even if I put a lockdown, because I actually tried, right, Bitcoin hit like 110K, right, I'm going to sell. But once it hit that, I just start to think, okay, now Trump is on, right? There's probably Bitcoin, like Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
And I just changed that number, which I think is really a bad thing, right? If the number is there, you should be sticking to it.
I agree. I mean, I think I've made that mistake. Most of us make that mistake. And it's like a lot of the things in trading and in life, like you just have to make those mistakes yourself as well. Like you can plan for it, and then, now if you do that once, twice, a few times, the next time you're like, all right, I remember last time I did this, I didn't sell and I should have. So this time I actually am going to sell. And so you learn from these mistakes as well.
Love it. And I really, really, really appreciate like your recent tweets, right? You put like a very long tweets sharing stuff, that the mistakes that you made. Because dude, that takes courage, right? And then like not everyone can face I wouldn't say failure, but like the mistakes that you made in the past, and just share it with the world and let them to learn from your mistakes. So I think this is really great. But like among all of those, I'd say lessons learned, like what is the biggest thing that you learned from trading or from simply being the crypto world for the past few years?
I think it's just the concept of taking profit in general, which I'd probably even say a different way, is it doesn't matter at what price you buy a token. It doesn't matter how early you are. It doesn't matter what your entry was. All that matters is when you sell, what your exit is. Like you're not going to, you could be extremely early to something, but if you don't sell any when it's up, you're not nearly going to do it.
It's going to hit zero sooner or later.
Exactly. Versus someone who buys, maybe they could buy at 10x the price you bought, but then they sell at a 50% gain. And then they make a way bigger profit than you because they took profits. And so just the idea of taking profits, there'll always be another opportunity. Like you don't have to ride your whole bag up hoping for 100x or more. Take profits,
Just train our own greediness, I'd say.
Yeah.
It takes time and multiple attempts.
It's not easy. Yeah.
Yes. Because personally, like I bought in Ethereum around 3K, right? And then there's 3 opportunities when it hit 4K. Yeah. I could have exited. I changed the number every single time. Mm-hmm. So right now it's at 2K, and definitely like a painful lesson for me.
Yeah. No, we all have these lessons. It happens to all of us all the time. Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like you're pretty still bullish on like like our bull cycle this time, right? You said there's still 75-80% of chance,
Yeah.
right?
I
Slightly
think so.
lower than your previous target, but still pretty bullish. Let's
Yeah.
talk more into that.
A few months ago, I was thinking like 5-10% chance that the bull
Yes,
market is over.
yes.
Now it went up, obviously, as Trump started talking about tariffs and other news came out, and the market started getting even more uncertain. But generally, like again, if you look at the landscape of crypto now, the regulatory changes, the adoption globally, the ETFs, it's just really the sentiment is really, really, really bullish, and I think that often it takes time for a lot of these bigger picture, like legal and institutional things to actually reflect in the market price. So just because they've announced a strategic reserve, or just because institutions now have ETFs to invest via, it might take them months or even years before they actually end up
Yes.
deploying significant capital. So I think that that's basically what makes me generally very bullish. Obviously, long term, I'm insanely bullish. Everything crypto, Bitcoin especially. But even like this year, I think unless something catastrophic, black swan event, entire global financial markets crash, I do think there's a really high chance that the bull continues and we sort of see new all-time highs this year or early next year.
Especially if the interest rate got dropped in Q3
Yeah,
or Q2.
it's looking like we'll get 2 rate cuts this year, I think, and then I think another 2 next year, which is good. It's nothing crazy, but it'll help. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And especially like the thing that confused me a little bit is I feel like the institution side, they're really bullish. Right? They're opening up like BTC purchases, they
Yeah.
open up like the deposit and stuff like that. But like I don't know why that is not reflected into like the retail investors like confidence, right? People are still pretty bearish on Twitter. So that's I guess the point that where I got a little bit confused.
It's very strange. Yeah. On the one hand, you have like the most bullish environment ever.
Yes.
And then on the other hand, people on crypto Twitter are bearish. And I think part of that is to do with so many people on crypto Twitter don't even own Bitcoin. They don't own majors. They're all in on meme coins or alts or NFTs. And those are down like 80%, 90%.
And 90%. Oh my god. That's
So
really bad.
that's why people are so upset, because their bags are down, even though Bitcoin's only down, what is it, 20% now or something from all time high? Yeah.
Which is really nothing
No,
comparing with
I think last bull market had dropped 25% 8 times or something like
yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay. So like yeah, let's talk about like your personal like journey and stuff like that. Like what are your goals and plans in 2025? Are there any
Yeah.
big launches that you wanted to do? Are there any upgrade on ZenAcademy that you wanted to do? What are the things that really wanted you to like, go all in and work into it?
It's a book. Honestly, it's the book. I really
It's a
want
book,
to
the
finish
most
writing
important
it.
stuff.
Then, it requires editing and more editing and fact checking and all that kind of stuff, and publishing and marketing and really just, yeah, I really want this book to come out relatively soon and hopefully be received well and help people. So that's the big thing. And then after that is out, then we'll see what comes next.
Dude, I'm excited for the book. I'm gonna buy a few, share with friends and families.
Amazing, thank you. Well, read it first and then see if you want to.
Of course, of course. What are some really, really like controversial hot takes that you have for our market, for our industry lately? Like the hotter the better, and putting you on the hot seat.
Well, let me think. I don't know that I have many hot takes. Let's see.
Take your time.
Yeah, let me think. I do think that there's I mean, it's not really a hot take, but like the I think there's a chance that like quote unquote retail just doesn't come back. I think everyone's like, yeah, when retail comes back and they're going to pump our bags and all this kind of stuff. But I think retail has been burned on NFTs. Retail has been burned on meme coins. Retail has come in many times. Retail has had many opportunities to come in. Like, if you're someone who hasn't joined crypto in the last 8 years with all these opportunities, is it really that likely you're going to join now? So I'm not so sure that we're going to get this mass retail influx like we've seen in the past. The sort of like the counter to that is that younger generations, and if you were 15 in 2017, now you're 23 and maybe you're working and you have an income and you're interested in this kind of stuff. So that there is a new wave of participants. But I just think that retail's been burned so badly that
I agree.
might,
I think the
yeah.
retails have been hurting really, really bad by the presidential coins, especially. Like
That as well.
That's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's a
It's
mega mega hurt.
Yeah, it's been awful. And so like then it's like, how do we remain bullish? And that's when you again fall back into the institutional stuff and adoption.
Hope so. Hope so. This bull cycle is led by institutions.
Fingers crossed.
Finally, we can count on them once, right? Like because they were never there before in Audible.
Oh, they were always against us before.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's finally there. This is nice. So for you, right? When somebody like look at you for the first time, right? You do have like a huge influence on Twitter, right? You do have like a huge influence on the crypto space. What do you think are some of the mindset, right? One or a few that really helped you to get where you are today, like from a nobody to where you are? Is it discipline? Is it like what is it?
A little bit. So like a lot of what helped get me my large following in 21 was I would post these daily spreadsheets of the floor prices of NFT projects because it was just information you couldn't find easily elsewhere. And so discipline and leading with values, like always trying to give value back to that's the number one thing. If you want to grow as a content creator is how can I deliver value to the people that follow me? And so I did that every single day. I would post this spreadsheet with the floor prices of all the projects with a thread of my thoughts. I did that every day for 6 months straight. So it was discipline. It was hard work. And it took me like 2-3 hours a day to put together on top of all the other stuff I was doing. But it was valuable to people and it was discipline and it was consistency. And that just, took me from, 1,000 to 100,000 followers in a year or something like that. Less than a year. So
that is a big boost.
It was crazy. It was an absolute wild ride. I certainly got lucky, and I wouldn't expect most people to be able to do that without large amounts of luck. But it was the right place, right time. But it was also predicated on delivering value, working hard, being consistent, and being disciplined with that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I think people who are mega successful always attribute their success into luck. Obviously, luck is always there, but like you need to be prepared for luck because luck hit like a million people every single day, and 99% people they just can't catch it, because they're not prepared.
There's a quote by Zeneca: "Luck is opportunity meets preparation," and so I think 100%. That basically you can impact your luck. You can influence your luck in terms of increasing the surface area of your luck. So like think about it this way: if you sit at home on your couch all day playing video games, that's all you do. You order Uber Eats, you play video games, you drink alcohol. It's going to be very difficult for you to get lucky and have your life turn around. On the other hand, if you're working, you're creating content, you're on Twitter, you're connecting and networking with other people, you're buying coins after doing research, you can get lucky by just buying the right coin and having it take off, by being connected and networking with someone who offers you a job, there's a million ways you can get lucky. So it's just like the more stuff you do, the luckier you can get. Not that you will get, but the opportunity is there and the potential is there for you to get luckier.
You need action, qualitative actions to generate, to hit that percentage.
Exactly. And then it's just a numbers game and a time game. And it's incredible how lucky all the most successful people in the world are because they work really, really hard.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And the next question is the most interesting question for this entire podcast, right? It's the one question that I always ask my guest. So basically, please share one of your most interesting stories, right? A specific story from all these years in your crypto journey. It can be about risk-taking. It can be full of like unexpected twist, full of randomness, or it can simply be something that is silly or fun. I want this story to be something that after people hear about this podcast, they remember this is something Zeneca did in the past that shaped who he is today. So like take your time, think about like that one single story, and the stage is yours.
A couple of things come to mind.
Or not only one story, we can do two stories or more.
I'll just say a couple of things. One is I was at this conference in America. Art Blocks every year runs this event in Marfa, Texas, and it's just a small, tiny town. But like hundreds of people arrive there just to celebrate art and talk about art and things like that, generative art. And I've only been there once, and the one time I was there, I met a bunch of people, and this one guy came up to me, and he said he just wanted to thank me for one of my pieces of writing. I wrote this letter called Infinite Regret a couple of years ago, and he was just saying how helpful it was. And I've had a lot of people specifically mention that piece as well and say it was helpful, which is really always awesome to hear. But then he sort of like took it a step further, and he said he showed it to his mum who had depression, and it took her out of depression. And to
Oh
me, that was
shit,
like, yeah, I
that's
was like, holy
nice.
shit, that is insane. And so it's just sort of like the impact of your words can have, you never know the impact that it has. And I think that, again, just by trying to lead with value and help others, you can really change the world in so many ways. And so like, that's something that's always stuck with me. And the other quick story I'll share is that I got married like 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, and
Congrats.
thank you, had my bachelor party like 2 days before the wedding, which stayed at dinner at a steakhouse. There were like 25, 26 of us there. And I said on the night the same thing, which was, if it wasn't for crypto in the last few years, there'd be like 5 people here. Like, I had a couple friends from high school, a couple poker friends. But the people you can meet in crypto is incredible. Like, I've met some of the best people I've ever known through this space. Like, people think, yeah, it's full of grifters and scammers and bad actors and extractors and VCs and people that are just trying to take your money. But you can also meet some of the most incredible people, and some of the best, smartest, most generous, hardworking people I've met are through crypto. And so I think that, yeah, putting yourself out there, building out your network, networking with others, making friends is probably one of the most, the best things anyone can do.
These two stories are amazing. First, I'm gonna find the article that you posted a couple years ago. We're gonna attach that in the comment section for people to get inspired. Second, I think, yeah, I do think crypto is like a very extreme like space, right? On one extreme side, you do have a lot of the grifters, but meanwhile, like the most ambitious, like young people, right, or even like builders, they are in crypto because there is huge potential. There are huge leverages and rewards for being like for building real shit and real valuable stuff.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So
It's
that's
the
what
best
it
industry
is.
in the world, I think. Like, it's got its flaws for sure, but it is the most interesting, exciting, cutting edge space. Again, AI is very much competing for that top role. Both of them are the most interesting spaces, I would say.
Awesome. If you can go back 10 years ago to yourself, what would you tell him?
I would just say, just keep going and like survive, because 10 years ago I was an alcoholic. I mean, I still am an alcoholic, but I've been sober for 5.5 years now. So I was drinking then. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was recently single. I just come out of like a 7-year previous relationship. I was very not in a good place, and so I would just say, just like, it gets better. Like, and just keep living, and it gets better.
How did you get yourself out of from that really terrible situation?
There's not one thing. Basically, it just got worse and worse and
Or
worse
it's a
and worse.
gradual process?
Mm, no, it just kept getting like, alcoholics like hit rock bottom, drink so much, and then swear, hey, we're going to stop drinking, and then a week later, a month later, whatever, we're drinking again. I did that 50 or 100 times, and then at one point, it just got to such a bad point. I said that, and actually, my health was like starting to suffer. Like, I could see like my toes were getting orange, like jaundice, and it was like
Oh
very
shit.
early
No,
stage.
no, no. The reason why I'm asking, because you actually look great right now. Like you're energetic
I
and
feel
stuff like that.
great. Like, it's again,
I cannot like
5 years
imagine
of,
like I
yeah.
cannot imagine like the stuff you're talking about. Like that's you
it,
like in the
it,
past.
it was a previous life. But yeah, so it just scared me and like the hell out of me, like, etc. And yeah, it was like, that was maybe the final wake up call. Saw the doctor, got some antidepressants, and which I've tried before, but these ones kind of worked. Specifically ones that actually helped me with sleep, because I've always struggled with insomnia, and I think the lack of sleep has always contributed to some of that stuff for me. But yeah, all that kind of stuff helped. And then just stuck with it for a few years.
But glad you're doing really, really well now, man. I'm super happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is nice. So like, yeah, before we wrap up this podcast, like if there's anything you wanted to share to our listeners, the book More Alphas you're doing right now, how they can follow your journey and contribute to ZenAcademy, like literally anything, man.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter at Zeneca, and then you can find like links to ZenAcademy and everything there. And then my newsletter, zeneca.xyz, if you want to read more thoughts. And when the book comes out, I'll share it both on Twitter and via the newsletter. So definitely blast it everywhere. You won't be able to miss it.
Let's go. Dude, also huge shout out to you because like I know ZenAcademy started with like if you're an NFT holder, right? You can access these Discord channels and stuff like that. But like you guys also open up like the student badge, right? Stuff like that, where college kid can join, learn more about like the crypto. I do think that's a really, really nice move that you guys did. So shout out to that.
Yeah. I mean, we've done a lot of great things. Most of it wasn't good from a business perspective. We never made significant revenue after royalties, which is why we've largely gone back to a Discord server. But I have no problem with everything we did. I think we've done a lot of things, and we survived as a great community now.
Awesome. And not everything is about money, right? Obviously, this sounds irony in crypto, but still, you guys do generate a lot of positive impact. And I do think that will be rewarded in long term.
Yeah, definitely. I think too often people are focused only on money. And money is definitely important. And I think that the reality is most people are in crypto to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. Money can lead to happiness and better life improvement and all these other things. But it's not the only thing. And I think that's important. And it's important to remember.
I saw that.
When
that's your... sorry to interrupt, but like that thesis is the most recent, I think, most recent 3 newsletter you sent out, right? Like you said, like after all these years, you finally realize, because when you get in, you think the NFTs do have like real value, right? You think a lot of people are here to build long-term stuff, but recently you finally realize people are here for money and money only. I like that a lot.
Some people also are building cool things and are here for the long term, but I think the vast majority of people, it's like money first and then something else second. Occasionally you'll find someone who doesn't care that much about the money, but most people in that category have already made a bunch of money, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with wanting money. We live in a capitalist world. It helps innovation. It helps your family. It helps drive everything forward. I think as long as it's in addition to helping others, there's nothing wrong with that.
I cannot agree more. I'd say like I think a lot of people has already made money in crypto, right? I'd say for those people, like really just think back and to see what else you can do, right? Not the money part anymore. Like just don't only like think about like how the numbers go up, because that's not supposed to be the game we want to play if we want to make the pie bigger for everyone.
And the funny thing is that it'll lead to more happiness, because if you've made a bunch of money and all you're focused on is making more money or trading, it's going to be stressful.
You're not happy.
It's not going to lead you to happiness. If instead you're like, all right, I'm going to invest it and still make decent money and have a good quality of life, but I'm going to build something, or I'm going to create something, I'm going to help others, I'm going to give back, then in my view, then that will lead to better happiness and probably lead to, still more money in one way or another. Yeah, there are exceptions, people who just absolutely love the game of trading and get joy out of that, but they're rare.
That should be a rare case, right? Like unicorns.
Yeah. It's rare when someone makes like, life-changing money or significant money and then just still wants to has the same drive and hunger. And it's like, I'm still going to spend 16 hours a day in this space to trading to find my edge.
Got you. All right. Here we wrap up the Tales of Web3 Season 3, Episode 13 with Zeneca. Thank you for
so much
hopping on.
Thanks so much for having me. It was fun.